Reddit users with siblings born significantly later, 10-15ish years after you. What kind of relationship do you have with them? My dad is 25 years older than my uncle. Watching them interact is almost like a lazy stepfather with a bemused son. My dad goes into dad mode pretty easily with him, but stops short of telling him what to do because they're both adults. My mom is 15 years older than her sister. There's a smaller age gap between me and my aunt. My aunt was kinda spoiled as the baby and my mom didn't really do much to stop it. My aunt acts more like my older sister than my aunt sometimes. My kid sister is 16 years younger than me. I'm the eldest of 4 siblings. For whatever reason, I'm closer to her than anybody else. I took her snorkeling when she was 10 and for years afterward, and it's influenced her entire life. I admire her a great deal. She's still getting her PhD and will be the most educated one in our immediate family. She works hard, takes care of herself, and is very smart. I have a sister 10 years younger than me. She was unfortunate enough to be born as my dad started going through a rough time with depression and drinking. So, I've actually been more of a father figure to her than my actual dad. I'm very proud of her. I'm 25 and my sister is almost 4. She's like a daughter to me and many people assume so as well. My mother and her husband are now moving out of state and I don't know what I'm going to do without my little baby sister. I'm going to miss out on her best moments. I feel as if I'm losing my own child. Lately I've been very busy with life and have been acting angry about my family moving away and taking her away. I've often found myself ignoring her when I should be spending every last moment I have with her. Life is tough. For what it's worth, Skype and FaceTime etc really help. The kids are fascinated by it and seeing you will be a real treat. My brother was 14 years older than me. Honestly, he functioned as both my mom and dad. My parents were in the middle of a messy split right after I was born. He is still the person I have loved most in my life, although he has been gone for 8 years. Same here. My mom had a baby when I was 18 and she was divorcing my stepfather. I took her to daycare, sat with her and changed diapers all while trying to go to college and work. I see her as my first daughter and that is how we interact. It was good training for fatherhood. I'm in that situation but am the younger sibling. I don't know them at all. I just know they exist. Same here. I have a sister that is 17 years older than me. I haven't seen her in 16 years and have a 14-year-old niece that I've never met. Sister was born 9 years after me, and we're relatively close. I think we'll get closer as she gets older, but I did help raise her. We shared a room for the first 6 years of her life, and when she was really little and her speech wasn't 100% understandable, my parents would frequently have her repeat what she said to me so that I could tell them what she was saying. I was her interpreter for almost 2 years. I was 19 when my father had twins in another marriage. I had already moved out. They are now coming up teenagers now. I don't have much of a relationship with them, but I can tell in a weird way that they look to me as kind of a mediator between their mum, dad and them. It's nice because my stepmother and my father are ridiculously materialistic and money driven. I try to show them it's not a big deal if the grades and all A's etc and they don't want to be a doctor or something. It's not too late to reach out and form a closer relationship. You could do like monthly dinners with one or monthly bowling with the other etc. I'm the baby of the family. My oldest sister is 10 years older than me. She is in her 50s and I am in my 40s. I have always had a great relationship with her. She was always kind and there for me. I always tell people if they meet her first, there's no point in meeting the rest of us because she's the best one. She graduated from high school when I was in 1st grade. She used to take me everywhere with her. I thought she was the bomb and the prettiest person ever. She was the homecoming queen and prom queen and I told everyone I knew. As I mentioned, we are much older now and our kids are very close. I credit this all to the awesome person my sister is. She brings out the best in everyone around her. So cute. I am the youngest of 6. Difference in ages between my siblings and me is 12 years, 11 years, 9 years, 7 years, and 5 years. Super close to everyone but the one closest in age. They all doted on me. I was always tagging along with one of them. It was great for me. Looking back, I can't believe how much they tolerated me. I remember pouring beers for my brother's friends at parties when I was probably 10. It was a different time. I remember helping out in the pit of my sister's track meets when I was 12 and then going to the local hangout with all of her friends. My brother used to take me to the local arcade and feed me quarters to keep me entertained. I am really lucky to have my family and that for the most part all of us are really still close. After reading so many stories in this thread, I have to say that you really have very awesome older siblings. My brother is 16 years younger than me. He is 9 years old. I feel more like an uncle, not like a brother. To him, I'm the amazing, cool older brother that he loves and brags about. Same situation. I moved away after college. I visit once a year. Am fortunate enough to be well off financially, so I show up, take him to GameStop and buy all the crap my parents won't buy him and take him to do all the cool stuff I couldn't do when I was a kid. I'm basically a removed dad who shows up once a year to buy his kids love. For most of my life, they've been like my aunts and uncle rather than sisters and brother. Since I got married, however, they've realized I'm an adult now and they treat me more like a sister. I'm 23. Eldest of us is 48. Yeah, I can understand that. My brother is 17 years older than me and he's the next youngest. I feel closest to him too. We have the most in common, etc. But it feels more like uncle-nephew than anything else, though I'm not sure what sibling feeling does feel like. Usually a lurker, but this really struck a chord with me. Dad is 65 plus, no one is sure of his exact birthday, has been known to forge illegal documents, and I am his only son. I have 6 sisters. Yes, I said 6. The oldest sister is 40 years old and the youngest sister is 5 years old, so I guess you could say there is quite the age spread here. I am 19 years old. So I guess I would be considered the middle child, so I write this from the viewpoint of having siblings both 10 plus years my younger and elder. It's difficult, I won't sugarcoat it, to even think of them as sisters. The eldest could be my mom and the youngest my daughter. All of them can speak French. I am the odd one out knowing only English. The youngest of 5 and 7 years old speak French as their first language, making it even more difficult to have a conversation outside of hello, how are you, do you like SpongeBob, if the kids even still watch that show nowadays. My dad cheated on my mom while they were married and knocked up some gold digger, and their offspring quite literally tore apart my parents' marriage. It's hard to blame those kids, and for a while I thought of them as little bastards, quite literally. There comes a point when those kids grow up, they will be teenagers while I would presumably have a life and a busy schedule. It was the same for me growing up, knowing I had much older siblings who were always too busy. My sister, 34, is a world famous poker player and I always bragged about her to my friends. What no one knew was how distant of a relationship we had. I saw her like once a year, if that, even though she lived maybe an hour and a half away from me. I ended up idealizing what it would be like to have them around more, especially during my formative years. I look back on it thinking I wish they had been in contact more, but I realized they were kept from me by their mother, who hated the fact my dad left her for my mom. So part of me wants to be there for those younger siblings who are so innocent in this fricked world, unlike the older sisters of mine. Yet at the same time my family who I hold dear hates them, and their opinions are reflected upon mine. I find myself in the same situation as my older sisters and come to understand the struggle that they lived through. I still don't have an answer on what or even how to fix that situation. TLDR. My dad is a pimp. Got a 40 plus and 5 years old sisters. We all hate each other for no good reason. Be the person you wanted when you were a kid. Cross the picket line. My sister and I have about a 13-year age gap. She just turned 13, so our relationship is definitely changing. Before it was much more of an authority figure relationship because when we'd hang out it was mostly in a babysitting context. It's evolving into much more of a friendship. We both like similar books, so we exchange those a lot and I can be a good sounding board for her friend drama. It's definitely hard finding a balance because on one hand I'm her sister and want her to have fun and live her life, but on the other hand I'm kind of an adult and don't want her doing stupid crap. I'd say overall we get along very well and it improves more and more as she gets older. It's actually quite good. I'm 10 years older than her, and I use my age difference to try to help her. I'm obviously her brother, so I can't act like a father figure, but I try to help guide her down the right path. I help her do homework, watch her silly shows, make silly jokes with her, but also help her get a foot in the door with things that she'll need when she's older, like telling her fantastic movies we'll watch in a few years, tell her what's happening in the world and why it's important, and that all she needs to be is her, to be the hero of her own story, and to follow her heart. Plus, just be a kid. Don't try to grow up too fast, because you will never get your days of being a kid back. My brother is 12 years younger. He's been a parasitic dong from day one. I thought he'd grow out of it, but he's 24 now and never intends to get a job or do anything but drink and smoke crack on the porch while expecting everyone to give him money for his hardships because Jesus. We don't talk at all, because I'm a disgraceful sinner atheist and all that. Sister is 14 years older. Love her, but she's very parental, more so than my hippie mom. In grad school I would have panic attacks when I saw her name on my caller ID because I knew she'd grill me about life choices. My older sister does this sometimes. I know she just doesn't want me to make the same mistakes as her. It's out of love. I'm the younger one here, at 19. My dad has 3 kids from his first marriage. My brothers are 42 and 38, and my sister is 35. My oldest brother, Mac, not his real name, lives 20 minutes away from us. We see him at least once a month. For us, it's a pretty standard sibling relationship. I know him well, and he is a huge role model to me. My other siblings live far away. My sister is really nice, but I don't know too much about her. My older brother is almost a stranger. There's definitely some stuff he has yet to work through since my dad and his mom divorced dang near 30 years ago. He's a functioning alcoholic, and a pretty successful one at that. He's jealous of me and Mac, because we got to live with dad. Their mother left Mac with my dad, and took the 2 younger ones. She took them to hippie communes all through the 80s, and spent their child support and birthday money from dad on C. She lied to them and said their father never loved them, and they believed her. My sister ran away at 16 and went to college and paid for it herself. Through some happenstance dad found out. She didn't tell him. She hated her mother but believed her lies. He paid her for everything, plus change. That's why my sister is on good terms. My other brother never got that. He stayed off the grid until about 10 years ago, when Mac reached out to him. When he visits every couple of years, he's kind to me, but he looks at me differently. I represent what he never had with our dad. It makes me sad, but I do really love him. Mac, not his real name. Please tell me it's Ronald McDonald. My half brother is nearly 10 years younger than me, and we are still really close, even though I'm away at grad school a few states away and he is still in high school. I think the fact that I looked after him a lot when I was younger is partially the reason we are close. I felt bad when I went away for college because I was missing out on his most supreme years of growth, but I think he got the best of both worlds, where he lived with 2 older sisters, and now that he's older, is the only child in the house. Most of our correspondence nowadays is him asking me about a bunch of college stuff as he's about to start applying, but we always have a great time when I come home for the holidays. My brother is about 13 years older than me and we have a pretty crappy relationship. When I was younger, he would be relentless with his mental abuse. He tried convincing me I was actually retarded. He constantly called me ugly, stupid, fat. When I first discovered P, he immediately tells on me out of spite even though I was right around the age when I would start being curious. He had a total lack of respect for me and my privacy. He always made sure to point out my flaws at family parties and he'd immediately tell me to shut up if I tried saying anything. It's made me really shy and unconfident in general. He's matured now but I really can't open up to him and I don't think I'm going to forgive him. We have an almost non-existent relationship now and the less we talk, the happier I am. Older sibling here. 2 sisters, one is 13 years younger, the other 15 years younger. Different circumstances for me. Parents divorced and father had more kids with new wife. I have a cordial relationship with my sisters, but that's about it. I see them once, maybe twice a year. We don't really text or keep up with each other. If I was forced to self-examine, which I won't, I'd say I'm a little jealous of them since they had a much more normal and definitely more privileged life growing up than I did. I very much get the vibe that I was an accident child to my father and his daughters are more his children than I am. But I don't hold anything against them really. What's the point? I doubt we'll ever be close. And they seem fine with that. We're fairly distant. I think the thing to remember is that people change and they essentially grew up with different parents than you did. Still, relationships are what you make of them, so I guess the real answer is that we can't be bothered to be very social. I'm 9 years older and my little sister is like part daughter to me. I helped her do her homework, wrote her essays for her, picked her up from school, babysat and took care of her bullies. The first time she got her heart broken, she started bawling and I immediately broke down from the sight of her in pain. That's when I knew she meant more to me than I thought. My dad had a lot of kids, like 13, 16 a lot. I'm 25. I talk to my older sister and younger brother closest to me, but I don't have anything to do with the rest of them. I've only met 2 of the littlest ones and couldn't even name the majority of them. The frick. I was 18 and 20 when my dad and stepmom had my half brothers. I'm 37 now. When I was in college and as a young adult, I'd come stay with them on holidays and such. So when they were little I saw them a lot. In the last 10 years, I've been in a relationship and moved farther away, so I spend time with her family on holidays. Funny thing is that my half brothers are 18 and 20 right now. Same age as I was when they were born. We have a relationship, but it's not exactly the same as my siblings that I grew up with. No way it could be when you think of it that way. I'm probably more like an uncle, with some added connection because we all had to grow up with the same dad. I think we'll get closer now that they are adults, like my older brother and I did. Also, my dad is 70 and stepmom is 61, so my brother and I will really be like grandparents to their kids, because their folks won't be around or will be very old. I'm 17 and my sister is 4. She can be annoying sometimes because she always wants to play with me when I want to be alone, but I really love her. I shared a room with my sister until I was almost 15 and she was almost 5. I loved her, still do, but the ramblings of a kindergartner were not interesting to me. I'm 23 and my sister is 11. She brings out my inner goofy kiddish side and I provide her with guidance and wisdom. We are best friends and I love our sisterly bond so much. I am the eldest and my siblings are 11 and 9 years younger than me. Our mom is still around but they have always seen me as their second mom. I lean to look after them and discipline them better than our mom does. Now, whenever they have stuff at school, they always tell me first. Good grades. I'm always the first one to know how their day went, little bits and pieces of their day. I'm always the first to know. Now that I'm about to start my own family, I'm pretty confident that I'll be a decent mom because I had years of practice. My sister is 10 years older than me, and we didn't really see each other from when I was 8, and she moved out, to 18, when I moved out. But as soon as my dad passed away, we became best friends. Like call each other once a day, pee with the door open best friends. Being best friends with your sister is the most magical, supportive, and honest relationship you'll ever get, and it's there for life. My little sis is 22 years younger than me. There are 4 of us, and we all have the same parents. My parents were young with the first 3. By the time my mom was 25, she had 3 children under the age of 7. My sister was born a week before I graduated college. 22 years is a huge gap, but we are very close. She's 18 now, but she still calls me sissy, and we still do things together. When she was little she would stay weeks at a time with me. Now, not so much, but I've helped her with college applications, counseled her through breakups and teenage angst. I take her to the beach for a week every summer. I don't have kids and we don't really have a mom-child relationship, but we also don't have a typical sister relationship. I'm very grateful that she's in my life, and I think she feels the same. I'm 11 years older than my youngest brother. There's also a middle brother, but when we see each other we mostly just sit around and watch TV. Maybe play pool or ping pong. Crack some jokes. We don't have a lot in common but we get along great. I'm 11 years older than my youngest sister. We have a great relationship. I do spoil her quite a bit, but I do some obligatory sibling torture as well. She and I watch a lot of shows together and play video games a lot. She does get on my nerves sometimes because she can be a brat, but she is sincerely one of my favorite people on the planet. I have two sisters, one 2 years younger and one 10 years younger. Growing up I was closer to my middle sister, and now that I'm nearing 30 and my youngest sister is basically an adult, I'm closer with her. She is actually moving in with me next month so she can go to college away from home. One of my top comments is about this. I won't paste it here because, well, I'm a little bit lazy right now. But the relationship between my and my 9 years younger brother is okay these days. For a long time it was not, and it was my fault. If you have a younger sibling, be cool to them. Don't do what I did. If you have an older sibling, just know they're as clueless as you might be about having a bond with you. But that's all they want, in my case anyway. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.